Um, so the point of this video, it's hopefully going to be the start of a series of videos that I've been wanting to do for a while now, and very specifically, they're going to be fairly controversial topics that I'm going to be addressing. I'm wanting to do a video potentially every month, but with how busy my schedule tends to be, and with how busy I'm with work and trying to even just record gaming videos, because that's one of my passions and one of the things I want to do content on. It may potentially even be at the end of every second month or even every third month. But the aim of these videos is to hopefully create discussion on various aspects of social life in modern times, discussions that will allow us to grow in an understanding of one another, become more aware of those around us, and hopefully it seeks to develop a stronger sense of community by destroying the boundaries and the stigmas around certain ways of thinking and living. Because these topics are of a controversial nature, I feel it's important to state that the content within these videos is my opinion alone, and or at least the parts that I say. I'm hoping to get other people in for future topics to discuss their opinions as well. But it does in no way or form represent my employers or the organization that I represent, both past and present. Anyone that I've worked for before. It does not represent the opinions of my family, my friends, or any sponsors that I may acquire over the duration of the growth of my YouTube channel. And yes, okay, some of the points may be things that I have discussed with friends and family, or colleagues or whatever, but they will be points that I phrase in a way that it's my opinion and mine alone, unless otherwise stated. I feel that it goes without saying, or at least it should, that should you wish to join in on the discussions that form around these videos, and I hope that there are discussions that are formed because there are topics that need to be spoken about. I hope that you will continue to be mindful of the people with whom you converse, be respectful of one another, and be open to others discussing a different perspective on these topics which you may not have considered before. I hope that I don't have to remove people from conversations, at least in the comments on my videos or on my social media or whatever, because they're being inconsiderate of other people's views. But this video seeks to create discussions that are conducive to growth, and not negative, and that seek to break people down. So please be mindful of that in creating discussions around my videos. Okay, so to get to the topic of today's controversial conversation. The events that unfolded at the start of this week have caused a ripple through our nation, and rightfully so. Our country is broken and scarred, and I felt after several difficult conversations with friends, family, colleagues, that I need to record this video. If not to inform people of the events, as well as the various standpoints that people are taking and why, then at the very least to give myself some sort of outlet for kind of what's been building up in my head, what's kind of been circulating around in there. Just to clarify, the topic I am discussing is specifically around gender-based violence, and yes, there are several other major events tearing our country apart currently, but I'd prefer to keep these discussions focused around a singular topic at a time. For any viewers that happen to be residing outside of South Africa that are unaware of the events of which I'm speaking, 2 weeks ago, on the 24th of August, a female student from the University of Cape Town by the name of Uyinene, I hope I'm saying this right, Uyinene Mugwechana, went missing. An arrest was made towards the end of last week, and it subsequently came to light that Uyinene had gone to the post office to pick up a parcel and had been raped and murdered by a post office worker on the day of her disappearance. For various reasons, I don't want to go into any further detail on the investigation or the court case, but mostly because I'm not a reporter, I'm not the right person to be giving those details, nor am I in any sort of position to make any commentary on the situation. I'm not the right person to be doing that. But unfortunately, this was just the beginning in the list of tragic cases that came to light. A female boxer by the name of Leandre Yichels was killed by her policeman boyfriend, or rather policeman ex-boyfriend. 14-year-old Janica Mallow was found buried in a backyard. 19-year-old Jessie Hess was found dead with her grandfather in their flat in Paro. And what has resulted from these various cases coming to light is a sense of outrage, rightfully so, that our country is at this point, that things have been allowed to manifest into this and come this far, because in this day and age, it shouldn't be the case. And I have 4 main points that I really want to speak about in this video. These points are topics that have been where the most conflict and conversation has come from over the past week of my life, and I feel it's important to show people kind of the discussions that are forming around what is going on in our country. The first point is the hashtag Men Are Trash movement. I've seen a lot of people with a lot of different standpoints on this topic. I am in full support of this movement. I feel it's a call for all men to be better. A lot of people are arguing that not all men are trash. It's the retaliation movement that's forming from this. But I feel like this downplays the severity of the situation that we're in. Yes, perhaps not all men are trash, but far too many are for this not to be an issue. I had an extensive discussion with a close friend of mine about my standpoint on this, and a lot of it ties into what my second point will be, but he strongly disagreed with my standpoint because of the fact that, okay, it's not necessarily only women that are experiencing this, but if you look at the statistics, it is primarily women experiencing these gender-based crimes. And so, yeah, as I said, I will address it in the next point, part of what his argument was, but this movement is important because of hopefully where it will lead us. It's a valuable way of pointing out the mistakes that men have made over generations, and those mistakes in teaching younger men and just shaping society as a whole those mistakes have had a massive lasting effect and are ingrained into so many men. And hopefully this movement will help to eradicate those ways of thinking. And the reason I feel so strongly about supporting this movement is because I know that I have screwed up in the past. I know that I have not necessarily treated women in a way that they should be treated. And so, as part of this point, I would like to make a formal public apology to every woman that I have had the pleasure of knowing, that has come into my life, be they people that I have known in the past and that have only known me or had an influence in my life for a short period of time, or women that I know currently. I would like to make a formal apology for not necessarily things that I've said to you, because I know that I have made some uncalled for comments, not only for requests that I've made to some of you, but also for anything that has gone unspoken or unpublicized. I want to apologize for even the own thoughts that I've had. I need to do better. Equality and respect for the people around us is not something that is a privilege, it's a right. There is a way that we should think about people and speak to people and act towards people, that should be a standard. It should not be dependent on who a person is, based on their age or their race, or in this specific scenario based on their gender. And so I would also like to put out a request that the women in my life keep me accountable for my actions. That should I step out of line and act in a way that is not respectful, that is inappropriate, that you call me out on it. Be it calling me out on it publicly or pulling me aside and pointing out my mistakes. I have tried to be better on my own in the past, but I realize that I need help to do so. And so I would like to ask that the women around me help me to do this. The second point, as I said, ties in with the first, and stemmed from a conversation that I had with a close friend of mine, about how, in their opinion, it was not necessarily a male issue specifically that we need to address, but a society issue as a whole. And yes, I do think society as a whole is broken, and that we have some absurd opinions on how people should behave. And a lot of these are dictated by where society has come from. And that is, at its core, the fact that society as a whole in the past has been dictated by men. It's been a patriarchal-led society, which has down the line led to a lot of these characteristic traits that men have that they believe to be right and acceptable, um, when they aren't. And so, yes, it is a societal problem, but it stems from a male problem. Um, it stems from generations of unchecked assertiveness, and underlying comments made by males. It stems from um, the opinion of a way that a man should respond emotionally. Um, it comes from this perception of what gender responsibilities are and how specific genders should behave, which has come from men dictating um, what should happen. And so, yes, there are occurrences where women are the perpetrators, but um, in those cases when men should come forward, when cases like that should come to light, and men don't step forward, um, it's because of a response that men make. There's this idea that if a man is raped, he should have just enjoyed it. If he is being emotionally abused, that he should be stronger than that emotionally, that he's not allowed to show emotion, that he's weak for showing emotion, that if he is physically abused, that he should have been stronger and should have fought back, that he could have fought back. And all of these responses that kind of negate men stepping forward and deter men from stepping forward stem from a male understanding of what men should be. So yes, once again, the issue stems from this male ideology, of how men should behave. Um, and then going back to my friend's argument, he stated that society has grown over the past few years, that women are being treated better, and he implied that people's understandings of one another had improved. But if that were the case, why aren't the statistics changing? Why are women, as the victims, still holding the higher numbers of these cases? Um, I feel that it's because at the end of the day, the reality is apparent. Men are far more prominent as perpetrators of these crimes than they are as victims. And this is why women are rallying around like this, why they're rising up in this manner. It's because even though men can be the victims, and sometimes they are, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but it's a far less worrying problem currently than the apparent crisis that women are facing in our country. So to sum up these first 2 points, the men are trash movement and the issues with society as a whole, that the patriarchy has caused, we should not downplay the importance of what is happening around us. This movement that women are stepping forward and speaking up, because enough is enough. And we can't downplay it. It is a problem. South Africa, I don't have the statistics at the moment, but let me actually pull them up. Okay, so I've pulled up the statistics and I will again post these on Instagram. But the statistics are men kill women every 4 hours in South Africa. At least half of these murders are by an intimate partner, someone that they know closely. Um, South Africa's femicide rate is 5 times higher than the global rate. And every year, South Africa sees around 3,000 women murdered and 50,000 reported sexual offenses against women. So we are at the point where it is apparent that we are in a crisis. South Africa's cases are far worse than anywhere else globally. South Africa needs to have some sort of change, and that's why this movement is so important. And so, to all the men out there that feel attacked by it, take it as motivation to continually strive to do better, not just to the women in your life, but to everyone. It's a call for us to change and to stop treating women the way that we do. So I hope that this changes some of your perceptions on the topic. I'm not calling anyone out based on their opinions. I'm just hoping to shed some light on my opinion and how I feel like a lot of men should start looking at this movement. I know that there's a strong support from the male populace in this country, but it needs to be a far bigger support, both in this country and globally. Now, part of the reason why I've taken so long to put this video out is I mainly wanted to see how the leadership of this country would react, as well as to kind of allow myself to process a lot of the conversations that I've had, and have a few more conversations with people about where we stand. And one of the first responses that our government had was on Twitter, and this was on Monday. It was the 2nd of the 9th, 2019. I've got it here, and I'll display it on screen now. But it says, "Violence and abuse against women have no place in our society. Government is calling on women to speak out and not allow themselves to become victims by keeping quiet. Women who speak out are able to act, effect change, and help others." There was a massive outcry about the statement, because how could our government state that women are allowing themselves to be victims? And this statement came under a lot of fire from the public, which it very damn well should have, because it's a statement that is very out of line. I personally know of several cases where women have been raped, sexually assaulted in some way, or treated in a way that should never be experienced by a human being. And in no way or form did they ever allow themselves to be the victim. And I far from agree with the statement that our government made, and really felt that I had to comment on this. It was out of line, and whoever made that statement needs to have a very long think about where they stand, because if our own government is taking the standpoint, then even though what has followed from after the statement If this is the stance that our government is taking, then our country's in trouble. However, there was a follow-up decision. Um, Parliament met, decisions were made, and a ruling was put out that anyone found guilty of um, gender-based crimes, um, anyone found guilty of rape, would be sentenced to life in prison. Which, again, a lot of conflict has come about around this ruling. Um, in my mind, it's the only logical decision, um, for the simple fact that, and a lot of people are calling for this, if they introduce or reintroduce the death penalty, um, not only are people that are falsely found guilty and falsely accused, not only are they then at risk of losing everything, um, but it also becomes a human rights violation. Now, I'm not saying that when I had this discussion with someone, they made the comment that how, after the actions of these people, how are we not allowed to violate their human rights when they've gone and done just that to the victims of their crimes? Now, unfortunately, it is not our place, no matter what someone does, to remove the human rights of another person. It would be good if we could serve a harsher punishment than just life imprisonment, um, simply because I feel it's not severe enough necessarily. But at the end of the day, it's the harshest punishment we can give, without potentially completely destroying someone if they haven't committed this crime. At the end of the day, our justice system, it's flawed, and mistakes will get made, and we we can't allow ourselves to kill even one person on the off chance that they may be innocent. I I don't know how else to phrase that. In my mind, it seems illogical to want to introduce the death penalty again, because there is there are massive flaws in our justice system, and people will be wrongly sentenced, and we can't allow that sentence to be final, as in they are no longer allowed to live, especially if there's the chance that they may not necessarily have committed the crime. Yes, they need to be punished. Yes, there needs to be some sort of way of ensuring or deterring people from wanting to commit these crimes. But unfortunately, we cannot introduce the death penalty, not at the risk of our own humanity. And my fourth point: where do we go from here? We cannot allow this to blow over in a week. We cannot allow this to be just another thing that nothing comes of it. Something needs to change. Something needs to happen. We can't allow this to just blow over. We need to use this as an opportunity to show the world the issues of how society is structured. We need to pave a way for equality and understanding. South Africa is often quoted as having the best constitution, the most, in a sense, accepting constitution. Um, and as a result of that, we need to start working towards building the best society for everyone. Um, and so, if we can start to, or if we can continue to fight for this, rather, hopefully it'll spread. And give the rest of the world an opportunity to do better. So that is my request to all of you. Don't let this be a once over. It happened, we move on. We can't move on. Not for the sake of the generations to come. Thank you guys for tuning into this video. It's been a difficult one for me to put together. I'm sure there are certain things that people may disagree with. I've tried my best to explain why I feel the way I do. I've tried my best to explain how I feel people should respond, and so I'm asking for that you people go easy on me. Hopefully, one day I can do another one of these videos on gender and equality, and hopefully we'll be in a better situation for it to be positive rather than have this negative tone. But we've got a long way to go. And so I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to everything I have to say. At points it may have been a little bit rambly, but I feel it needed to be said. So yes, thank you everyone. I hope that you have an amazing day further, and gentlemen, be the change. Strive to do better. All the best.